So, Mr. Johnson, you're here this afternoon seeking a commutation of your sentence. And you have a sentencing date, November 1989. You pled guilty to count 1, which was first-degree murder without capital punishment. You were sentenced to life without parole, probation, or suspension of sentence. Another sentencing date in September 1994. After you had an appeal, you were found guilty of second-degree murder as to count 2. You were sentenced to life without parole, probation, or suspension of sentence. Is that information correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
All right. Would you answer Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Mr. Johnson, just to clear something up, I'm a little confused. I thought I read where at first the jury came back with a death sentence verdict.
Yes, sir.
1986.
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mention it previously.
Okay, well, I just wanted to clear that up. So at first you were sentenced to death, then they re-sentenced you, and you got 2 second-degree murder charges, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. And how old are you, Mr. Johnson?
I'm 55.
Okay. And how long have you been in prison?
38 years.
How old were you when you committed these crimes?
I think 24, 23, 24, something like, sir.
All right. And what's your educational level?
I have a BA in Christian medicine.
Mr. Johnson, I read your file thoroughly. I had to read it a couple of times because I got confused a couple of times. So tell me what went on. What led to the argument? What led to you killing these 2 ladies?
Early Nunn, Miss Early Nunn, Miss Sue Winham, and I engaged in a heated argument. Well, I realized we were engaged into a fight. The fight had got out of control, which should have never happened, and it wound up taking Miss Early Nunn and Miss Sue Winham's life. I allowed my emotion to get the best of me. And I'm very remorseful for the irreparable pain and suffering I've caused Miss Earlina and Miss Suham family and the community that I disrupted in my own family. There was no one fault but mine.
Okay.
There was no justification for what happened. It's, I was totally wrong. And I take full responsibility for my wrongness today.
I understand. We still got to get to all of the facts concerning your crimes. So, did you attempt to rape Miss Wyndham?
No, sir. Sir, the rape was, the court has showed that it was possible that when women had sex with her boyfriend, something. I have never taken sperm test, and I have never, I'm not had sex with. No, I was engaged, had an affair with Miss Suhan. I mean, Miss Nunn, not Miss Wyndham. Miss Nunn was my fiancée at the time.
Well, wasn't Miss Wyndham found with just her blouse on in the shower cap?
That's what the report says, sir.
What the report says, I want to know what you say.
I have never had sex with it.
But she was found with just a shower cap and her shirt.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me ask you about this. So you killed Miss Wyndham and you went drop her body off. Did you kill them both at the same time, or was one a later murder?
No, sir, it happened at the same time.
Why didn't you dump them both at the same site?
because that's what we had got into argument. And on our way there, that's when the fight started out while I was in the car. And I lost control of my emotion.
Yeah, but I mean, you killed Swindon and you put her in the wood.
Right there, sir, at the same time.
And then you killed Miss Nunn and you
Right
brought
there.
her further down.
Right there at the same time, at the same spot.
But you can both bodies right there.
Yes.
Both bodies were in the same spots.
That's where it happened at, sir, right there in the same.
Yeah, I'm not saying where it happened. I'm trying to figure out why would you dump one body one place and then they find another body another place.
I have no idea, sir. It all happened at the same time right there through our arguments fighting in the car.
So, I mean, police report says that Miss Nunn had scratches from her, so obviously she fought back, and that it was from the bushes where she was left.
It's Brian Mama.
I'm gonna move on. Okay, jewelry was found in your car, correct?
That's what the police folks say, sir.
Yes, okay. I'm looking at the classes you've taken. You've taken a ton of classes, huh?
Yes, sir.
What class you got the most out of?
100-hour victim awareness. I have to say it's a mix of all 100-hour victim awareness and Thank You for a Chance. Those three combined together, I got the most out of, because 100 hours, I was able to recognize that it was man that taught me mostly like trigger, what is trigger based upon. Trigger is something that makes a person react in a negative way, would pull the trigger subject, and that's what I did. And from victim awareness, it shows me that my action, it caused what it's caused another person to do, how it affects another person. And in a way that I approach myself with things that I say can cause another person to react in another way. And it kind of, it fit me because of that temper I had at the time, and it helped me a long way, helped me through my journey.
What?
Okay, so what effect you think you had on the community and the families of these victims?
I think I had a great impact upon them from what I have done, and what I've done was totally wrong, and it caused a great effect upon the family of Miss Erlina and Miss Sue Winham.
You have law enforcement opposition. Your daughter is unopposed. Opposed is the superintendent of police in New Orleans. We didn't get a comment from the sheriff's office, which we don't, from New Orleans. We have the victims here that will be speaking later, victims' families.
I'm Elaine Nunn, the daughter of Erlene Nunn. This is my mama I'm currently holding right here, and I'm speaking in her behalf and my family. I lost my mom to Saul Johnson. Saul Johnson killed my mom and Sue Whittingham. He stalked them, and he hunted them down, and he killed them. I only had 7 years with my mom. I didn't get a chance to grow up with my mom. My kids didn't even get a chance to meet my mom. Charles Johnson has caused my family so much grief and pain that has lasted a lifetime. I feel Saul Johnson has no remorse for what he did to my mother and my cousin. I do not feel that Saul Johnson is sorry for what he has done because of what he did. I had to be raised by my grandparents, my aunts, and uncles. Although I had my family there to be there for me, there's nothing like the love of a mother to her child. Not having a mother has affected me emotionally, mentally, physically, and most of all, spiritually. Still to this day, I don't know exactly what date that Saul Johnson killed my mother. I only know the date that we buried her. I remember one day my grandfather was walking me to school, and we saw Saul Johnson standing below my mother's apartment complex, and he had a smirk on his face. And later on that day, I realized that it was confirmed that my mother was dead and was gone forever from me. I also remember being afraid of Saul Johnson, and he was a mean and cruel and non-remorseful person. And I believe he is the same way today. I say this because he has never written an apology to me or nor my family. My mother will never ever meet my kids, and he viciously kidnapped and tortured and raped my mother and cousin. And because of Saul Johnson, I have been in therapy for most of my life to the reasons with all of this. But there are some things that seems to be amount that no therapy can help, that bring my mother back to me. He purposely killed and tortured two women. He didn't care about them nor their family. Saul is a controlled narcissist who did not care that my mother had a peace bond against him, and she wanted him to stay away. I recall one day Saul Johnson tried to throw my mother over the balcony, and that is why she got a peace bond against him. I know this myself, and my mother pleaded and begged against him to not to throw her over. I know that he's intimidating, and he's a stalker, and he didn't care that she had a peace bond. And later I learned that he threatened to kill other family members as well. I also learned that Saul Johnson has a history of violent behavior towards his family, his ex-wife, and others. Because of this is an ongoing violent behavior. I am sure that he need not to be released. He will kill again. Society does not need another killer on the streets. And I feel Saul may even come after me and my family for even saying this today. Saul Johnson has agreed to life in prison without parole. Rather than staying in prison for the remainder of his sentence, he chose to have us here today. And I still believe that he has not changed. So if he wants to say that he is a changed person, he will stay in there and serve his time. And I pray that this board finds Saul Johnson unfit for release, as he does not deserve to be released in this society, because society does not need another killer on the streets. So I ask that this board keep him locked up.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm the favorite boy. Stupid. Saul Johnson getting out. Great. Shot my mom in the head 3 times with 38 for no reason. And my brother grew up. My grandparents raised me. We grew up. I was 4 years old when it happened. He was 24. He might be a changed man. That's between him and God. He don't deserve to be out. He deserves to be where he is today. It's been hard to me ever since it's been going on. I've been dealing with this since April when I first got that in May. It's been stressful, it's been painful. It's been hurt the way a person can take someone's life and just leave him in the woods like that, a piece of dog or animal, just for no reason. I think he should not be, he's not fit to be released. I think he will kill again. I think he tried when he first got locked up, he got a hitman skin people trying to have it. That's why he killed multiple people's guy in California testified against him, trying to have him killed. He's just a serial killer. He don't need to be locked. He need to be locked up and not be released. Sorry. I'm asking now to keep him in.
Thank you, sir. We have Mary reading. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Board prepared to vote? Mr. Freeman?
Mr. Johnson, you have done well in prison. There's no doubt about it. But then you look at the other side of things and you've devastated two families. And it wasn't one murder, it was two murders. I just can't with a good conscience vote to release you today. My vote is to deny.
Mrs. Jackson?
Mr. Johnson, I'm really troubled about circumstances surrounding the crimes that you committed. I don't think you've been honest with us about why you killed them. A fight then turning and murdering two women. It just doesn't. And I don't accept that as the explanation. And I think there's some deep issues with you that would allow you to kill these two women and relate to the fight. Because of the nature of the offense, continuing on to the victims, my vote is to be.
Mr. Rush?
Mr. Johnson, based on express opposition of both the victim's family, nature of the offense, law enforcement opposition, and a lack of responsibility and remorse for your offenses, my vote is to deny.
Mr. Marabella?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Based upon all of the comments and reasons espoused by my colleagues, my vote likewise is to deny.
So, Mr. Johnson, you've received 4 votes to deny your application. So today, sir, your application for clemency has been denied.
Thank you, ma'am.
That concludes our business at the penitentiary, so we're going to sign off from there at 4:27.
Thank you.